Hey, I'm Andrew Golden.
I'm Jeremy Golden, and we're rocking with
Grandosiá
Grandosiá
TV.
TV.
Welcome back to Grandosiá TV, where I have my special guest, the Golden Bros, here with Andrew Golden, here with Jeremy Golden. On today's show, we'll be talking about fatherhood. We'll be talking about why are black fathers important to the community, and how can we make a change to gather our boys back, our daughters back, to have a great America, especially in the black community. But before we get into that, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you like it, share it, and hit the notification bell so when we go live on every show, you will be up to date. Welcome to the show. How y'all doing today?
Pretty good.
Good.
Glad to be here.
Yes.
Well, on today's show, like we said in the introduction, we're going to talk about and in your opinion, why is black fathers important to our community? Go first.
Black fathers are important to the community. I would say, I would just say because we are. I really would look at just the foundation of a man. I think just culturally, just from years past, that's one of the biggest attacks that has been not just on within the body of Christ, but just the whole nation. You anywhere you take the father out of the home, you lose discipline, you lose structure, respect. A lot of those things go out. It's actually statistics to support that fact. And so the importance of a father is really the force of progression.
Gotcha.
If we don't have fathers in the home, it's hard for us to progress. Or if a father is absent from the home, you really don't get I'm not saying that the mother had, because a lot of the queens have been holding it down.
They have.
But there's a definite need and a position of authority and power that a father has that unfortunately a woman cannot even exude. They can try, but I don't believe that it's possible because a man has it.
So, in your opinion, and this can be for Andrew or you, Jeremy, why do it seem like we want to push men away from being that father they should be with their child?
Ooh. I think, to answer that too as well, I think it starts off with how the relationship was between the husband and wife or the girlfriend and boyfriend type situation. I think sometimes that when that relationship gets dull or it gets messed up, we put that burden on our kids.
That's true.
And and when we put that burden on our kids, they have that burden where, well, am I ever going to see my father again? What happened to the relationship? And they, basically you leave the mother raising the child by herself. And so what happens a lot of times, even in that field, is that mothers illegalize making their sons kings too early when they're just still princes. And so what time? And so when you're trying to raise a king, in his mind, he's already thinking that I have authority. So about time he gets to a real man or talks to a man, it's like I already have authority because my mom had gave it to me illegally. Yeah. And so therefore, I'm already a man, but I'm 13 years old. And it's like, no, you're not a man because there are some things that you missed or because you didn't see because your father wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why we say a father is so important. Being there is because you miss out on the things that your sons and your daughters really need you for that you have to correct. And so we have to be very mindful of these illegalized kings that's out there because you're gonna have to face them. And then as soon as you talk to them, they think they know as much as you know. It's because the mother has positioned them there. So it's like, no, I'm going to say this. Stay a prince as long as you can. You know what I'm saying? You have to grow into be a king. When you own, that's when you become a king.
Gotcha.
So
I would second that too. One thing I would say it equates from, I think we've we fall into a cycle. If you think about slavery times, men were taken away from the homes, and women were left with the seed to raise that child. And because of what that whole gist of slavery, they were pulled out of their homes.
Right.
So if you think about, and going back to what Drew was saying, if you pull something out, something has to replace.
Right.
And that's where you get this imbalance in the home, because now you got the young, like you said, they're in a legal position, the sons now, and now you're the man of the house.
Right.
It has to be a man of the house, and the crazy thing is, it's also the realization of the woman understands that somebody has to hold that position.
They do.
And because the father, in slavery time wasn't able to come back,
Right.
I think now we're functioning out of the result of the father being pulled out of the home and not coming back. And then you got like you said, relationship things that take place. And so now the mother has two options. Either I get into survival mode and I do my best, and that's what a lot of mothers have done. And then there's this sense of, then we get this wave of independence.
Yo, man.
So once you get into that wave of independence, what happens? Like, I don't even need the father no more.
Yo.
Right.
So it's like you aren't here, regardless of whether you were pulled out of the home and that was society's or the plan from the beginning. Now you have homes without fathers, and then you got fathers that are actually leaving homes because when we do come back, it's no place for us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You've actually assigned my role as a father or authority as king to my son. And now when the father goes to speak to his son, it's this combative thing.
Right.
Now you got a king against another king.
Right.
And that we go into, behavior issues and stuff like that. Why? Because you've illegally placed this child in this position, and now I'm his father. I can't even speak to him the same level, because now we almost got to throw hands just for you to humble yourself and say, no, this position is still mine. And I really feel like instead of going about, and I think it was just, the way times just have been, it's a cycle. In order to break that particular thing, we got to really say this position belongs to the father.
And that starts with who?
That starts with the wife. And then it also starts with scripture. Like that's the word.
Right.
Right.
We're supposed to lead our homes. You know what I'm saying? Right. And a lot of times we find ourselves wavering, or even not. It's almost like I look at fathers now and they're just out of place.
Yeah, right.
But we want you to take a place, and if I say, fathers, take your place, they're like, where's my place? My place has been used by my son or whomever is in the household, and stepfathers and stuff have stepped in. But even them, it's a toss up with them too, because it's that illegal position was already given, especially if a child's involved. If a child is not involved, then you have a woman that's very independent. She don't need no man. She don't need whatever. And it's really the callous that's on the mind that says, because I'm who I am, I'll create, I'll do whatever. And it doesn't take anything from the woman. Right. It's really just how God intended man and woman to create and build together. That's the power of relationship. That's the power of marriage. Right. You know what I'm saying? And unity. You know what I'm saying? The power of agreement. Right. So yeah, just to piggyback off of that, that's pretty much what it is. Right.
I'm loving this conversation, but what we're going to do, we're going to go back just a few seconds, because there's a lot you said just now. Hey, I want to know, you said the callous is on the mind of the independence, and she's doing it by herself. Is it fair for a man to come back in to rechannel that, to rebuild that on her mind? Is it really fair to ask a man to do that? For that right there, and then two, you said a lot that men was pulled from the home or they left. Back in the early 50s or 60s, when people was headed north and leaving families for better jobs, and they never came back, or people went to jail unjustly and never came back till later on. And you said it was illegally given to the son. How do you? But as a man, do you pose to work that out to come back to the home? Or do you just say, you know what, I tried, I'm moving on? What is your opinion on that?
So I'm going to hit on the first part, is the independence of a woman. I think it's because nowadays that women are allowed to have authority positions in the workplace. they tend to forget to take that off when they get home.
Gotcha.
So if I'm a manager, if I'm a director, or I'm a CEO of a company, and then I have a man at home or position at home, they tend to forget to take that off.
Right.
Because guess what? You're still a wife. You still hold the position of a wife, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you have, it's almost like authority going against authority. You haven't took work off yet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's can be where a lot of arguments and disagreements go on in that field. And you know, of course, your kids see it, it's like, man, why is everybody is bucking against bucking and is bucking against each other? And it's like, no. It's like, no, you have to take that off, because if you have a man there, he's gonna fill this position because you have the CEO hat on,
right,
and or the director or manager hat on, and so therefore I can't even talk or have this communicate to you in a way where it's like, okay, at some point it's not submitting to the actual person, but it's submitting to the position that you hold. Mm. So if you're a wife, you submit to the husband's role, not to the person. Gotcha. And that's where the confusion happens a lot, because we still, like my bro was saying, it's like we're still the head of the household. Right. God comes to us first. Mm-hmm. He doesn't come to one, he comes to us. And if anything's off inside the household, he comes to the man. Say, hey, what's going on? I'm not coming to the woman, I'm coming to you. So we also have to make sure we find that balance, even with our spouses or the girlfriend, whatever, however it is that, guess what? We got to make sure we have on the right hat. You know what I'm saying? And make sure we do take off work or whatever we're at, that authority that's breaking up the relationship, and it's tended to go sideways. So
I definitely agree with that. And just to, you know, sometimes things get misconstrued when you when it hits social media. Like when he said God comes to the man, like if you go, we can take this to the word.
Right.
When Adam and Eve sinned, said, Adam, where art thou?
Right.
It was inclusive of Eve, mm-hmm. But he said, Adam, where are you?
Right.
So just to piggyback on what he was saying, like the callous is I think we, as men, black men, we done got soft.
You right. Right. Well, is that our fault? Is that the world fault?
It's a combination.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's the world fault typically because, you know, they've allowed us to believe and really release our authority. They've allowed us to put on the chair and just say, okay, I was actually in a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I was just saying, like, look, it's time out for us waiting for our position to get open again, mm-hmm. for that door to be open. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm kicking down the door now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really like open foot, 300, mm-hmm. kick you off the ledge. Like, no, move out the way. This is what, you know, this is my position. Mm-hmm. Right. And it has a lot to do with, you know, perception, like what you believe in your intellect. Like, what do you know? And is it responsibility of the wife? No, the wife is there, or that companion is there to reassure. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't, it's no way, this is what can happen. Mm-hmm. If we come back into the household, mm-hmm. and we take our rightful place, mm-hmm. and it's almost like we got to go jump through hurdles and hoops. As a man, you get frustrated. I'm done with jumping through hoops.
Done.
You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of just going back and forth with you and trying to tell you and trying to prove to you or whatever like that, right. that I'm this. But what's going to happen, and this is what I ultimately believe, is a lot of the men that have been rejected, that have tried to go, because you said, you know, those that try to say, hey, look, I'm here, I'm trying to work it out, I'm trying to make this one, I'm trying to take my place back, I'm trying to be right. the father that I need to be or whatever like that. Mm-hmm. What you're going to see is you're going to see a complete shift, because just because they try with you and you reject it, right. don't be mad because he's now fathering these other kids in right. this other relationship, and now he's the awesome stepdad in another relationship or whatever like that, because that happens a lot.
Right.
Because I come over here and you a deadbeat, you so-and-so, you this, that, and the third, right. and I'm attempting mm-hmm. to regain my position, and you say, you don't have a position here.
Right. Right.
I've been taking care of this for a long time. Why are you even back?
Right.
Right. And then they go somewhere else, and they're this awesome father, awesome dad. They loving their kids. They taking them places, do all X, Y, Z. Exactly. And what happens is jealousy seeks in, and then you got this lady personality-wise, great person and everything, but just because that moment where he was attempting to rebuild or had a desire, the seed starts with a desire. Whenever you have a man that says, this is what I want to do, stop crushing the seed. Right. And a lot of times you crush the seed and then he moves on and say, okay, I'm going to go fertilize somewhere else. Right. I'm going to seed somewhere else. And just because it grows into something incredible and amazing, you can't be mad. Okay. Right. You rejected it. Okay. True. Right. So I think the calendar it's a toss up. For different men, like you do got some jokers out there, you know. Right. You got some people that are lazy, they're not interested, right. And I think part of that is either what they've seen, what they've experienced, right. But a lot of it has to do with just who they believe they are. Right. It's time for us really as black men to really take ownership of our home and understand it engulfs everything. Right. It's not you can't separate the household and expect it to last. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't got nothing to do with you. It's just my kids. No. She bore your kid. You still have it's a covering. Yeah. Right. It's fatherhood. It's a covering. Right. If you think about every time we say fatherhood, motherhood, it's a covering. Right. A hoodie. You talking about hoodie. You know what I'm saying? It's a hood. It's a covering. Right. And so you can't say, well, this is fatherhood. No, you can't separate it. And that's how many houses are falling down. Now, I honestly feel like the pandemic itself, brought to the surface a lot of the issues right in the household, because now I can't go to work and just be working from home now. Right. So now I gotta face you. We gotta talk about that hard thing. Right. So right.
And I'll just to add to that too as well is that like you said, us as black men, black fathers, that we have to be mindful too is that we get labeled by issues. Ooh, yes. And that is the biggest thing that the world does. They label us with our issues. Yeah. Because one black man did something bad, they label all of us.
Mr. Jackson.
You just Mr. Jackson. You know what I'm saying? Every husband is Mr. Jackson now. Right. You know what I'm saying? But it's not the truth. But we have to understand that. Guess what? When I'm a strong advocate, and I always say this a lot, is that everything starts at home. And like you said, the pandemic, it gave you a reflection of what you really missed. Yes. Because you will go out to you used to the routine. Get up, get the kids ready, go to work there for 8 hours. You come back home, dinner, all that stuff, homework, whatever it is. It became routine. But when it becomes like, oh, hold up, I missed that. I missed something with my son. Oh, I missed that with my daughter. Oh, I missed that with my wife. I didn't see that before because I was so distracted by the routine. Yeah. Right. Every single day that I do. So we have to be, and that made me a better father, a better husband, because it kind of exposed itself to me to say, all right, this is something I need to change now. Right. Because if I don't, it's going to hinder me when the world opens back up, hopefully. But when the world opens back up, it's like, okay, I know, that's the thing. I'm aware. I know now what my issues or the things were inside the household. So, yeah, man.
And before we move on to talk about Mr. Jackson in depth and talk about Mr. Kirk in depth, do you think, and my sister may get mad because she worked for these people, but do you think people like social services, child support, taking all our issues to court hinder a black man? Because I know you got all type of different fathers that's on child support, but I know in the community that I see, I know black men say, listen, man, if I wasn't paying $700 a month, I would go do more with my child. If I wasn't paying for celebrities $20,000 a month, I would go do more with my child. My child will be with me. Do you think that hinder what we can do? Or is what some people say that's more of an excuse?
I think that's one of the. I think it's a catch-22, meaning that I think it works on both ends. Okay. Some people just know you just should not be a father, but you in that role. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't become a father, or in that you don't take on that responsibility or that role until it happens. True. Right? Like you can't. It's no. I get some people. Well, you mentor. Yeah, that's great. But fatherhood, like that's my son, that's my daughter. It's I can't even describe it. It's something that comes on you that you never had before. and you make a decision in that split moment whether you function in it and grow in it or you reject it. But to your point, I'm definitely an advocate for services like that. But I really feel like we've leaned at this point. I think we've leaned culturally on those services to take care, to provide that. And then because as a man, I've relinquished my authority. I've relinquished my nobody can take it from you.
Right.
You have to lay it down. So you lay it down, and then you get mad because social service say, okay, well, we're gonna fix this. This is how the court system say, fatherhood, you took the hoodie off, you put it down, we're gonna pick it up, we're gonna put it on, and now this is how much it costs in order for us to operate in this role that you're supposed to be wearing. You know what I'm saying? Which is completely oblivious to what's taken around in the in the environment and everything.
Right.
But this is the norm.
Yes.
Right.
And so if we look at it from this perspective and saying, okay, every family that is being supported with social services and have to go through the court system, if you find those type of scenarios, because some of those relationships can be very toxic.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times the children suffer because of the fact of the toxic relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not about to be trying to work it out with somebody that feel like they're gonna kill me. Then I definitely won't be here for my kids. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I think it has to be a mature decision you make as a father, and just say, look, regardless, I use fight like hell, fight for what's yours. And it's almost like it's nothing separating me from my child. That's the mentality we got to have, and really, I got to go through you or whomever. So be it, because this is the seed. This is my seed.
Right.
This is my child. So it's one of those toss-ups, because some people don't need to have kids
At all.
And they get crazy. You see spooky stuff going on. You're like, okay, y'all should just never had a kid. They should have just went ahead. You should be a unit. You shouldn't make no more kids or anything. But truth be told, it's one of those things that you got to be. God gives us all that ability, right? You know what I'm saying? And how we manage that particular gift, that's a gift from God.
It is.
To be able to create. And a lot of times what we create, we are upset with.
Yes.
So you'll create something, some content, just like now, you create some content, like, nah. The only thing is we've been so hip, or I would say programmed in our mind, where if we don't like something, we don't like what we're creating, we can reset.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't reset a child.
No.
That's a person.
Yeah.
That's not social media. That's not a video we edited. That's not a track we laid down.
Right.
And we can fix it and maneuver it and do whatever. No, I think that's what the mentality is now, is that, I can fix and I can maneuver. And once you do, who's mixing and mastering? A child. Social services in court. Okay, we're going to mix and master this the right way.
Yeah.
So it goes smoothly. You know what I'm saying? So it's right.
Yeah.
So that's my take.
That's the truth, man. It's I like you say, you mix and match. You can't. I think we have to understand one thing, is that we cannot fix people. It's only one person can fix it. It's yourself and God. That's it. If I go in a relationship and try to fix somebody, then I'm just sitting there wearing myself out, all my energy trying to fix something, a person that doesn't want to be fixed.
Right.
Because it's up to you as a person to say, hey, I need this fixed. This is a choice that I desire, that I need to get fixed, and I need to allow God to come in and kind of fix those things within me. So I think it's I posted something the other day and say, you have to stop expecting you and other people.
Yes, you did.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't. They're not you. You know what I'm saying? And you're trying to fit this image of you inside this person, and then when he fail you, it's like, man, whatever, man, bump the dumb jump. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's I'm done. That's it. But we gotta understand, it's like even with relationships, like, to touch on the things, like, sometimes the mothers make it even hard for the fathers that are absent. According to the things, like, you push them away because you have set a boundary or built a wall up with the relationship y'all had, which is blocking the relationship you're supposed to have with your child.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, when you put that and it's almost like you put that wall around your kids too. It's like, my kid's in this wall too with me, so you cannot come in at all. So you build it, and so it's like the fathers keep going like this, like, okay, can I go around the wall? How do I get through this wall? Is it even worth going through this wall?
That's the big question.
That's the big question. Is it worth going through this wall to even try to reach my child?
And a lot of times, and I'll throw this in there, a lot of times it's not. And I'll tell you why. This is what men do. That wall is there.
Big wall.
Big old wall. That junk is huge. It's a straight.
Yep.
Trump wall.
Yeah, right. That's all I say.
Right. Trump wall.
Trump wall. This thing's been being built for years. This is what a lot of fathers do.
Yep.
They wait until their kid can climb it.
Ooh,
That's a beam.
that's true.
Because it's small. They can't climb it. I've been trying to climb the wall and I'm getting scraped all up and getting hurt, whatever. I'm communicating. You can still hear my voice. So that's where you have those distant relationships. I'm call you every now and then. Everything all right, baby girl? Boy, you good? I'm going to come to your game. I'm a so-and-so. Then when they get older, it's like, you can climb the wall now. Now you can. But then guess what? That whole time that wall was there, the expectation, because this is a child now. I remember being little and like, it's nothing my dad can do.
Right.
But when the father doesn't break down the wall, something happens in the child. So now they feel like, why didn't you break that wall for me?
Right.
So now now I'm older, and I'm like, you wasn't there. You didn't care about me. Yeah, you came to a football game. Yeah, you came to a whatever, but you wasn't there. You don't care. Now the relationship is jeopardized and it's broken. And the father spent a lot of time just like regretting
not going to break that wall.
Not going to break that wall. But when he break it, you don't know how close that child is up on that wall.
Right.
You don't know. You don't know what other children are along that wall with whatever.
Right.
And so it's almost like a strategic thing. It's better because a wall has access.
Right.
There's a card that literally the wall can just come down.
Right.
Who has access to that card?
Right.
The lady.
And you got to figure out the code.
Yep. You type in codes. Maybe if I do this. Maybe if I do that.
Denied.
Access denied. And after a while, this thing. It got finger. Look, it got finger. It got hand scan and eye scan.
Right.
You said nope. That ain't right.
Right.
And then you get frustrated and say, now you sitting with your back against the wall. Communicating with your child that's on the other side saying, hey, look, I tried. And you don't want to put loss in the child's heart saying, well, your mom don't want me to come over there. And a lot of times that happens too.
Right.
Like it won't for your mom, just whatever. Then you get the blame game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? As opposed to two adults coming together and saying, look, this thing is toxic, if it is toxic.
Right.
But we need to do it for the child. But what has to happen? Eliminate the wall.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to bring the wall, like it has to be destroyed.
Right.
It can't just be, it's going to be down for a little bit, then I'm going to bring it back up. No.
Right.
Like, be mature, and as hard, if God can forgive, we got to operate in forgiveness.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? It's amazing how, when it comes down to relationships, even with divorce and stuff like that, people will go through these things, and then, they can't forgive that person. Right. Because they had so much grafted in a relationship or whatever. Right. Not realizing that that's what we're called to do. We got to forgive. Right. And then and forgive is not just the healing part of it, but wholeness means I can move forward. Right. How many people that have been divorced still hate the person that you divorced?
10 years
later. 10 plus years, you still hate the person. How? How?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's the wall. It's built on unforgiveness.
Yep.
That's the wall. That's the wall being built. And it's like, okay, once you truly forgive, that's when the wall starts to crumble down.
Yep.
And it doesn't damage your kid that's on the other side of the wall trying to climb and see what's going on while my dad is on the other side of the wall.
Gotcha.
And so sometimes when things come down, that's what you say, you got to be very, very, very careful of what you break down, how you break down the wall, because it can still damage the child on the other side of the wall.
Yep.
That's waiting and seeing, God, you're saying, I hope I get to see my hero. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, this is my hero on the other side of the wall that I've been looking for my whole entire life. And I've been trying to, reach and talk to him. It's like, and when I get old enough, like he said, they get old enough, they can climb the wall of unforgiveness, right? And then guess what? It becomes a new relationship, even with you and your father. Whether it's gonna be good, yeah, it's gonna be some hard things gonna be said, right? Because for so long you've been behind this wall, and all you heard was your mom's story, but you never heard nothing about your dad.
Right.
There's always two sides, but you don't get an understanding of that until you become a father, and until you become a husband, you will get to understand like this is what happened in the relationship. Oh man, I went through that before. I know what you're talking about. So there's a level of understanding there with that father and that son that's grown to say, okay, look, son, I couldn't tell you then because you probably really wouldn't have understood.
Yeah, you weren't able to understand.
You weren't able to understand it. But now that you're old enough, now you understand. It's like, all right, now that you're over this wall, can we build something new together to move forward? And that's the piece that say, hey, I was trapped in my mom's unforgiveness for so long, is that sometimes I didn't know how to forgive because the wall was built on unforgiveness. And so when I come out of something, it took me a while to climb it. It took years to climb it. But when I came out, that's when I kind of positioned myself to say, all right, I need to forgive this man. I need to forgive my father because it wasn't his fault.
At all.
Facts.
That's some good stuff right there. That, because like even me being a father, you look at it differently when you have these type of conversations. But let's go to the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning. Some people believe in the Bible, some people don't. So we're going to kind of tailor this for both. Where do you get the manuscript on how to be a father? For those who believe, we say the Bible. For those who don't believe, that's a question they have. Because for most black people, or most black men, we are descendants of American slavery. Whatever the master did to the first slave, that first slave did to his son, he did to his son, so on, so on, and so on to today, till we get to, now we got something on TV where KIRK, it's bad to whoop your child. It's bad to discipline this kind of way, or we taking things from what happened to us as slaves. So where do we learn how to be a father? Because once they ripped us from the home, back in slavery, all that boy had was master. So how do we in 2021, how do we shift and learn something new? Or can we learn something new?
I think, and just for me, just take a stab at it, I honestly feel like being a father is such a gift. And when you become a father, it's just a matter of how quick you unravel the gift. I don't think, like, I can take from other men. I can ask God, those that believe in the Lord, like, you can ask, how should I direct this? But nobody has ever, and my dad shared it with me, like, I have a son, his name is Jace. He can't tell me how to raise Jace. My wife has a different personality. I have a different personality. And now he's Papa now. All he can do is instruct and say, you try this out. But I've gotten all the information from what I've seen, how I was raised. Right? And then it's up to us to decide. I feel like a lot of times we put a lot of pressure on people, celebrities, oh, you're supposed to be the example of how to do this, X, Y, Z, when really that is tailored. Y'all had that child. You're the father. And I say it's a hood, like it's something that you put on. It's a responsibility that you literally have to, just like you put on your clothes in the morning. You have to pick it, you have to pull it out the closet, and you got to gird up with it. Fatherhood.
Right.
And so once you do that, you can function in that accordingly. It's a ever learning. Right. Like you have to be a student. It's nobody on this earth, period, outside of Almighty perfect God that knows how to be a perfect father. It's no such thing. Right. It's no such thing as a perfect father. Matter of fact, it is a such thing. I'm the perfect father for my son.
That's right.
You're it. And I think a lot of times we try to, we read books and how to train and did this. That's all great information. Great information that you can utilize and instill into, your relationship with your child or how to, the upbringing, etc. Right. But nobody truly knows. I look at my bro and, before I had my first child, he was already a father. I'm like, yo, you're an awesome dad to DJ and Kate, his children. But if I use the same tactics he used with Jace, it'll be a completely different. Right. I can break my son. I can, something gets missed. Why? Because I'm trying to duplicate something that I saw. with a whole new person, whole new personality, whole new upbringing, whole new atmosphere, you know what I'm saying, and whole new environment. And I feel like that's why, and we've been trained differently. You know, our parents have really been instrumental in, okay, Drew was more so like the rough one, like the hard one. You got to get, you know, boom. I'm more so the one that was just like, I want to please you. Don't, I don't need none of that. The good, hard talking to, but them understanding the balance of it all, the discipline is different.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My son now, he's 2, and he's wild. Like, I already know, I got a baby girl on the way. I'm like, oh my gosh. Me and my wife are praying that this personality of this girl is a lot more mellow, because he is no cap. All her father and mom and her mom's energy. Like, he just, okay, I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's that I'm gonna do it, and it takes me to look at my son and just say, hey, this is the way I'm gonna discipline you. This is the way and it's perfect for him.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's gonna mold and shape him. Now, back to our previous point, if that gets taken away, that's where they fall. That's where it gets broken.
Right.
Because now he doesn't get that. He's robbed of that. Or he's robbed of it, whether it be in a different household now, or the mom and whatever didn't work out.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's one of those things where a lot of times I think the culturally we got, well, these are perfect fathers, and no, you are the perfect father for that child. You can have a support system, you can have a village to help you raise them.
Right.
But you are the perfect father. You are the perfect mother. It's nobody else. I know for a fact, and I'm confident in. I don't care what happens. What type of mentor my son get? I don't go. You can see somebody you want to follow. Go, because a lot of times you gonna say something that they not gonna listen. They gonna hear it from somewhere else. I'm like, oh, this is new. It's not new. I told you that. Yeah, I said it already.
Right.
That's why you're the perfect father, right?
Right.
That's why you actually knew it. You might not even verbalize it, but you're like, okay, you got to go through this. You're gonna have to hit that wall a couple of times.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that's us understanding and being in position and being comfortable in fatherhood and in our role in the household, or just period as men.
Right. And just to piggyback off what he was saying is that, he said, I'm the perfect father for my kids. You are the perfect father for your kids. Let's take it back a little bit more. Is that, I'm his older brother, and I was the firstborn. And I think a lot of times, and this has happened, and I've discovered this too as well, and God have revealed some things too, is that it's a generational thing that every older sibling is not forgiving their parents.
Oh man.
And what happens is that you're the first child. So guess what? They became a parent when you were born. So things were supposed to be new to them because you are the oldest one.
Yes.
And so they have made mistakes. They have did things they weren't supposed to do. So when it seemed like my brother looks like he got a better raising, it's because guess what? They already had the experience with me. So it's supposed to get better when it comes down to the next sibling. And so a lot of times you get caught up in the jealousy, right? And that breaks up the family by itself. You got a lot of siblings that are not even talking to each other because that number one reason is because we haven't pushed pause for a second as an older brother to sit there and say, hey, I have to forgive my parents because they didn't know how to they didn't have all the answers right away. They didn't. So when it comes to the next child, of course it's supposed to get better and better each time it goes. How many children they end up having, but we got to learn and position ourselves to forgive that instant, that quick, because that's the reason why you have those jealousy moments. Like, man, my brother got this, my brother got this, my brother got this, not knowing that guess what? Your siblings are still looking up to you as the older brother, because guess what? As an older brother, you get caught up in what they got. Is that you still have to live the lifestyle of the older sibling, because you're still an example to your younger siblings. So you have to position yourself that way to say, all right, I had to position myself that way. I said, number one thing that my brothers do, even my brother now, is that, he celebrates me. And I think that's another big thing that's been taken away from black men or black fathers. We don't get celebrated enough.
Right.
We don't.
Right.
We do stuff. It's like, oh, that's what you're supposed to. No, it's not. You think about it. Every Mother's Day and every Father's Day. Mother's Day is packed full with restaurants, everything, the whole nine, everything. When it comes to Father's Day, man, you go anywhere you want to. Anywhere you want to go. But guess what? We have to change that mindset to sit there and say, like you said, it's that slavery mindset. We got to change that because we're not in slavery anymore.
Well, to a point.
But we're not really in slavery though, because it's a mentality thing though. But it's up to us though, as a choice. That it's up to me to sit there and say, Darius, you did something great, or Jeremy, you did something great. I want to celebrate with you, bro. Yo, that was great. Let's go out and go celebrate with each other because that's success. And that's what we don't do enough. And that's what we got to understand is that celebration also is all about who's in your accountability field. Who's holding you accountable. And I think a lot of these tactic things that fathers do, or brothers, or whoever it is that we do not have accountability. We have people who say things, and we have supporters, but we don't have accountability.
Right.
There's a difference between supporter, because I can support you in anything you want, but if I hold you accountable, that means I have access to correct you in love.
Right. Well, hold on 1 second. Let's put our kickstand. Let's put our kickstand down for the good old pastor said. Let's put my kickstand down for 1 second. Because you said something that's going to change the dynamic of how this conversation was going. Because we was talking about fatherhood, but you brought up we as men don't celebrate each other. Why is that? Why is it always with black men we keep what we call the crab in the barrel mentality, that we don't want to see nobody progress farther than what we are doing? Like, if you're doing something great or you've been a great father, I'm over here hating. Man, I can do better than that. Or, man, he ain't that good of a father. The other day, he cheated on his wife anyways. Like, why do we say that? Knowing it ain't true. Knowing it ain't right, but we end up saying, why can't we just celebrate? Why can't we say, hey, man, Drew, I love you. Jeremy, man, I love you, man. I love seeing what you doing with your family. I love seeing where you going in the body of Christ. Why don't we do that, in your opinion?
I think it goes back to slavery, man. I think the one thing that was stripped from us was our family.
Yes.
So once you take the family, which is the prized possession of a man, you take that away, and he gets pulled from it. I think confidence goes down, leadership, authority, all of that goes down, because now I'm stripped away from something that I hold to so much regard. And now when I look at my brother, who's maybe doing very well or overcoming a little bit better than me, I look at it, I charge it with the excuse of, same thing. You're like, you're doing the same thing. You ain't doing nothing special. You just made it, you just had a few, you had a better upbringing, or you had a whatever, instead of just celebrating, my brother saying, yo, like, you killing it right now. And then I feel like culturally, like, we don't know how to celebrate black men.
True.
That he said something very, very key. And matter of fact, me and my wife was having a discussion about it last night about interracial couples. And I was talking about how part of that, and I'm not saying this is the end all be all, but part of that is because when it comes down to other races, a lot of times those other races celebrate us more than our own race do.
That's a fact.
So if you have, and this is not all the scenario, I know it's be on social media, all that people be hyping. What? No. Look, I honestly feel that in some cases, you have a white woman and a black woman. The black woman is sharing the struggle of what we've been going through culturally. The white woman is removed from it. And so the look upon that relationship is more so like, oh, you're doing this. You're a great father. You're a great this. You're a great that. And where with a black woman, it's like, we're making it together. We're building together. But it's hard for some reason, it is hard to celebrate. That's why a lot of people jump that route. That's why we don't, and continue to stay in our culture or our race or whatever like that. It's because you start pulling from other ones, and then it really, like, it's the stigma too, because sometimes it's just like, you got a, dark skinned brother. He like, man, I need light skinned kids because I don't want them to be, accused and ridiculed and stuff like that. Right. And so, I think like I said, I always say it's a toss up, but we don't celebrate each other enough. And and how do we celebrate? How do I actually tell my brother We had a discussion about this a while back. Like,
Right.
yo, not even I love you, bro, but I love you. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? We don't show emotion to each other, and then it's always that what you got going over there. Like our bro squad, like it tell you, like when we win, we win together. Like you just got this, bro. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like let's go hit some golf balls at Top Golf or whatever. Like whatever. Like dude, that's great.
Right.
But then a lot of times, not only do the men don't celebrate each other, but you're not used to. You don't know that what the cadence of celebration is.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't know how to, and because you don't know how to, you don't know when.
Right.
That's
So it's like this is the expectation. Oh, you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to take care of your kids and do X, Y, Z. Yeah, but I make a decision every day. Going back to that hoodie.
Yes.
I make a decision to put on this hoodie.
Right.
Or this cap, this father cap, or this whatever every day to make sure that gets taken care of.
Right.
We have to celebrate the fathers a lot more because what you're gonna do is when we get fathers and fathers take their rightful place, I promise you, a lot of the evil, foolishness. I posted something the other day. I said, not only do the household need us, the nation, the world, globally, a change because of that.
Right.
Not just black fathers, but do you think fathers in general, like you said, when we take our place, we will change the world? But do you think the world want to keep it where it's at because of corruption and money that they make off of us not being there?
Yep. 100%.
100%.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
100%. Yeah.
Like it's always been. It's and like we go back to the mentality of, if I take you from the home, and because this is what it gives a man peace of mind to know that the government will take care of that, or they good. Then I can go focus on something completely different.
Right.
Instead of actually addressing the issue within the home, allowing that to be at peace, and then building from it. That's the issue.
Right.
And so, in particular, black men, we got to get back to the house.
Yes.
We got to literally and be intentional with it.
Yes.
You can't go in there just like, well, I'm back and I don't know what I'm. You got to really sit with yourself and say, okay, I got this vision.
Right.
This is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna build.
Right.
Vision comes to us, and it's a lot of broken dreams. There's a lot of broken careers and everything in a man, and we have to heal.
Yes.
I think we as men, we don't take time to heal. You've been in this stigma. You don't cry. You suck it up. Football. I saw something the other day. It was like, if you play football, it's like, no, you a warrior, man. You suck it up, man. We don't cry. We don't show emotion. And guess what? That's really what's caused us not to communicate.
Yep.
You don't have platforms now where there's just a whole bunch of men just literally, and in particular black men, sharing like, yo, I'm struggling with this area, man.
Right.
Why? Because fear of judgment.
Yes.
I'm not going to share that information with you. I'm not going to tell you that I'm struggling, right now, with my wife and whatever like that. I'm not sharing that because you might try to get with her or something.
Right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you're not being that transparent. But as soon as we get healed and we operate in the wholeness that, we receive,
right,
I think it'll blow our minds how much stuff just start to shift. Be like, I didn't know it was like that.
Right. Right.
And I think part of it too is the younger generation is making laws in their heart saying that won't happen to me.
Right.
I will not leave my child. I will not whatever. And so now you got this energy where instead of it being, it's motivated by negativity.
Right.
Your whole platform is built off of straight negative energy. Like, I will not abandon my child because like my dad abandoned me. I would not do this the way my dad, my father, such and such. My father used to, spank me, beat me, whatever like that. I'm not going to beat my kids. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And you got all these not, and don't realize that's the foundation of what you built your fatherhood on. You becoming a father on. And guess what? What happens when all of that goes away?
Right.
They run amok.
Right.
And we go in the same cycle as if you were not there.
Yep.
Because you made a law in your heart.
Yep.
And a standard in your mind to say, because my father wasn't there, this is what I won't tolerate this. Right. You got to get healed.
Yes.
You got to forgive, let that go, and say, okay, now what is the healthy way to raise this child?
Right.
How do I be present in a household and continue to build with whomever I'm building with?
Right.
It's important.
So, and also to add to that is like you said, we have to be postured in position to be healed. It's a posture. You know what I'm saying? And it's like we don't want to We don't want to feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And when it's uncomfortable, guess what? God is like trying to posture us. Look, I'm trying to heal you. You know what I'm saying? But you don't want to be postured that way because it's uncomfortable. It's like, I got to get rid of that. I got to get rid of this. Yes, you do have to get rid of it. Because in order to be successful, in order for me to celebrate or be, you have to be healed. Mm-hmm. You have to be healed. And I think the other thing is too is indecisiveness. We don't know how to decide. Like you say, when you come back to these households, it's like you have to be intentional and you got to make a decision. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we gave that decision to our wives. Yep. We gave the decision to our children because one time we made a decision
and it won't right.
And we got stumped. And when we got stumped, what do men do? We shut down. Yep. And give it away. Yep. And that's the wrong thing to do, is that to shut down. Because when you shut down, there's a difference between shut down and upgrading. So when you shut down your phone, there's no upgrade. Yep. But if I'm resetting, there's an upgrade happening. Yep. Right? So we shut down everything. We shut down the decisions. We was like, all right, I'm not good enough. And that's when the enemy starts to come in and tell you things that you're not. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because of one bad decision that you made.
Or several bad decisions.
That you made. Right. But it kind of heightens that. It takes it to another level when you are stepped on. Because it doesn't feel good. Because it's like, I'm a man. I made a decision. It was wrong. But it's not taking my ability to make another right decision. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why we shut down. We were like, all right, I just want the peace in my house. That's the number one. Man, say that. I want to keep the peace in my house. Yeah. So what do? I give my authority away.
Yeah, and we don't communicate because we just want peace.
Exactly. We don't communicate. Yeah, because we just want peace. Exactly. And so we have to stop giving stuff away because it's comfortable to give it away, right? But what if we don't? What if that one time you don't give it away? What if it's okay to be uncomfortable? Because when you're uncomfortable, that's when you're actually growing and maturing. And just like you have to say, for a man, for anything that you're in, he said it, you have to remain a student. Yeah. Remain a student. You're always learning. There's no master to maturity. You're always maturing for the rest of your life. Right. And so if you get that mentality, say, I'm always maturing, and guess what? Students do graduate. But when you graduate, make sure you celebrate. Right. Straight up. If I'm graduating, this is my big day. Yeah. Graduate. Right. Graduate and celebrate us, because that's something that's huge, and we have to make it those big giant moments where it's a celebration. We gotta have to make sure we step into our graduation moments. Say, look, I'm getting something. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so people are celebrating me because of my success and what I did. So, yeah, man. That's good stuff.
Well, moving to our last segment, it's only right, talking about fatherhood and manhood, that we bring up two names. And the two is KIRK Franklin and do you say Derrick Jackson?
Derrick Jackson.
Derrick Jackson. Yep. It's only right that they hit the social media feed the last couple of weeks. And, KIRK made it because of he whooped his child. Well, he said he'll break his child's neck and said some other explicits as well. Derrick went all the way. Derrick Jackson made the news because he was a guru talking about love, and he was a husband, and he's in everybody's DM sliding through. So, in your opinion on KIRK and Mr. Jackson, what did KIRK go wrong? What can we fix? What can we learn? Same thing with Mr. Jackson. Where did we know where he went wrong. But what can we learn from that?
Whoo, man. I'm KIRK. Look, yeah. I go with KIRK. First of all, KIRK Franklin is my guy.
Yes.
Let's go. That is the artist, man. If you talk about gospel, that's who I listen to. That's who I rock with. If KIRK drops something tomorrow, I'm still downloading, listening. I'm supporting 100%. No cap. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is. But in his situation, I honestly feel like the only issue with that whole entire situation is the motive. Gotcha. His motive, the motive from the son was to expose, to tear down. Mm-hmm. It was to point judgment. That was the motive of it. Mm-hmm. The conversation itself, Christian or non-Christian, I think that's a conversation between a father and a son.
Right.
Facts.
I honestly feel like that's a conversation between a father and a son. If that's what it led to, and given now the like he's 30, I think they say 33.
33. Yeah.
You're a grown man now. I can't talk to you. Everything, I can't look like, son, we're gonna pray about no. And I think also a lot of times people are, and we was talking about this the other night, like a lot of times people are so like they hold people to a high regard because of their gifting.
Right.
Like Kurt Franklin is talented as all get out. You know what I'm saying? Like as an artist, I'm a musician myself. Like I've been to concerts and everything. He's like Noit and Fall, God is present, boom. And sometimes we glorify that moment so much, and then we put them on this pedestal.
Right.
And I was sharing, I'm just like, I feel like God is literally leveling the plane. And Kirk actually got on and said, hey, look, I'm human.
Yes.
So when we see people in this light, this kingdom light, doesn't say that they have to carry themselves a certain way, because they are supposed to be the example. But the motive of the son was to exploit, was to really just cause his a downfall, and for his dad's relationship or whatever. They said they have been working on it.
Right.
And then he don't show the part where he got, disrespectful with his dad, because you don't know what he said.
Right.
Exactly.
What would cause him?
Kids can push buttons.
Yes, they
Kids can push them.
Push them. They can punch buttons. You know what I'm saying? And you find yourself in a compromising position. But to be honest with you, like, I can't say what I wouldn't do.
Right.
I can't say when my son is 33 and he get disrespectful on the phone, I won't tune him up. Like, yo, who the heck? Like, I'll go in.
Right.
And he was like, well, those words are in your heart and out of the mouth. Like, we can do all those scriptures, but it's still a father and son conversation.
Right.
So what can we learn? Do we need to, because honestly, and this is true, if I had a conversation with my bro and I record him, going saying whatever and whatever, it's legal stuff that can be done in reference to me for doing that.
Right.
So that could have went a whole different way.
Right.
You record a conversation. Did you tell him you was on speaker? That's what we had to do in work. Hey, I have you on speaker right now, so and so and so and so. Because anything can come through the airwaves.
Right.
And so you got somebody that is continuously working on a son relationship. They said it's been toxic continuously.
Like 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years of toxic relationship. And then all of a sudden this man just records you and it feel like, oh, I honestly, if I was Kurt, I'm not him. But if I was like, okay, I lost fans. Y'all don't like me no more because I had a conversation, a passionate conversation. Let alone people are not open to really having those conversations out in the open.
Right.
Like, they have those conversations all the time behind doors. You talk to some of these preachers and pastors and leaders, and they have them straight conversations. Man, what the world are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's we hold people to so much high regard instead of saying, and we was just talking about this on the drive over here. I said how I experienced something very, very incredible when it came down to just prayer, right? And the person that prayed for me, I esteemed that person high, like, not realizing that it was God all along.
Right.
He was just a vessel.
Right.
Or she was just a vessel. And we hold him to, oh, Kurt wrote that song, man, touched my heart. So all the praise go to Kurt. No, God inspired him to write the song, and you were ministered from it. Please, God will say, I will not have no other gods before me.
Right.
I am a jealous God. And what he's doing now is leveling the plane, saying, look, it's only one true God.
Right.
Only one almighty God. And I think that's where that whole situation kind of...
So, just the piggyback off what my brother saying about Kurt Franklin is like, the conversation was just a conversation to me. I feel like any father would have said something, especially, but it's funny how people were so quick to judge. They were so fast to judge a situation where it's like, okay, we don't know what the son was going through. We don't know we don't know none of the therapy sessions that they had.
Right.
And I think sometimes it takes you about some things should remain private. You shouldn't have to expose those things or expose somebody as a person, because guess what? Yes, you are destroying his whatever. You purposely, intentionally did that for a reason to get exposure to you, but destroy somebody else. And that's the wrong motive to have. Here's the thing. Now, him being the oldest son, which kind of put me back to where the older siblings is that this. whether you know it or not, what he feels is that he didn't like the fact that him and his mom separated.
Right.
That hurt him.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell because think about the position. He's having an issue with the older sibling.
Mm-hmm.
All the other kids are good.
Mm-hmm.
But you're having a problem because there's some hurt that was there because it didn't work out between Kirk Franklin and his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens was we talk about that wall. You know what I'm saying? And not saying that Kirk Franklin wasn't in his life. He probably was in his life. Yeah, he was in his life because he said, hey, I've been going to therapy with my son for over 20-some years. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, what took place. How can I help? What do I need to do more of? And you see the trying. But it's like, hey, the son has to realize that he has to accept healing inside his heart to say, you know what? Okay, I need to heal from this. I need to forgive my parents because it didn't work out the way I wanted to go. And so sometimes the imagination and the imagination of a kid or that child can be broken because you saw something in the beginning, you imagine something. And sometimes we got to be very careful as parents is that we got to make sure our circumstances do not blind our kids' imaginations. And that's what happens a lot of times is that whatever we go through, and that's when we talk about building those walls and stuff like that, that's somebody else's circumstance. And it's hindering my imagination. The imagination is a kid's first vision.
It is.
And when you blind that or you hinder that because of your circumstance, like, no, you stay like this, and you start to be controlling. And when you start to be controlling, guess what? Like, you go this way. Correct. This is how I want you to move from now on. This is how I want you to say. This is what I want you to do. And when you become controlling, and then when you get out of it, and it's like, who are you really? You don't know how to function. Your identity, you lose identity. And that's the other thing fatherhood does is identity. You find identity. And we've been talking about sons and stuff like that, but I have a daughter too. It's like, I'm very important and aware that, guess what, even with my daughter, she needs to know how a man's supposed to treat a woman. Period. I'm the daughter's first love. So everything I do, I'm very careful and very wise how I treat her mom. Because guess what? It's right there in front of her. And we had a comment, it was funny because we posted this yesterday. It was like, she said, I want to be married. I want to feel love like you, mom and daddy. That means they're paying attention to how we interact with each other. They see. And even with the arguments, it's okay. You don't need to have those arguments in front of your kids. You need to show them how to apologize. How do you learn? Everything starts at home. Communication. This is how you're supposed to communicate when you did something wrong, and you need to go ahead and level the playing and say, hey, you know what, babe? I was wrong for that. Forgive me. Forgive me for this. Forgive me for all those things. But that whole Kirk Franklin thing, I just think it was like, oh, that's not like my pops. If he would have did the same. He would have did the same thing. If he was disrespected, oh man. But you can't. But that's the thing.
Can't judge it.
You can't judge it because at the end of the day, he's still a father too. He's not just Kirk Franklin, the artist, the producer. He's a father. He's a husband. He's all. You know what I'm saying? He's a man. So people tend to forget that he's that, and he's not a god.
It's a different cap.
It's a different cap.
So when you put on Kirk Franklin, everybody we put on father. He's not your father, so you wouldn't even understand his communication.
Right. So yeah.
But the JAXN guy, man.
Oh man, Jesus.
So, the man did a lot, right? And one thing that you highlighted when we talked about it, because I think it was more so, and Drew said this, and I was just like, wow, I didn't even think about that. It was more single people.
Yes.
In the comments and responding to this man's failure or whatever. Was it wrong? Heck yeah, man. You making it hard. Like, it's not even the question. Like, no, you were wrong.
Right.
But we talked about how, like, what was the communication like with the wife? You see her demeanor on the video, but you don't know if that's her or, did he tell her, no, I got it or whatever. But it was interesting because it led to a conversation of how many times in a husband and wife relationship are we not communicating?
Facts.
Because, a real life thing, and most couples deny, like, you talk to your boy and you sing, bro, I'm always getting it, whatever.
Right.
What's that the case in the household? Does it justify it? No. You're definitely wrong, period. You're not supposed to go out on your wife.
Right.
But a lot of times, that is a real serious issue, especially when it comes down to Christian relationships.
True.
Where the wife or the husband feels some type of way in the role of sex, and you're not getting it at home. Then you get mad because he's looking elsewhere or whatever like that. Is it wrong? It is wrong. But those are conversations that are not being had between couples saying, like, this is an issue.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's the man basically saying, hey, look, like, I want some. And the woman is like more so like, okay, we like you gonna schedule one out? No, now, you know what I'm saying? And like we don't know if that was the case,
right? Because
if everybody was to be honest, like how many times have men been frustrated because of that? How many times have women been frustrated? But it's vice versa,
right?
So just as well as he was out there just willy nilly just going in, I look at it like, okay, given the right scenario and the right situation, it could happen to her too,
right? She
could have very well emotionally been attached to somebody else,
right?
And just because it didn't manifest in full out, blown out sex, it's still cheating.
Right.
It's still, you know what I'm saying? And scripture talks about you look on you done committed adultery. So how many men are really cheating?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. But that's scripture, right? So if we really, as Christian men, we'd even think about it like, okay, if that's the standard, then we can't, it's wrong for us just to go out and just judge. But I really felt like the issue was more so of the letdown.
Right.
And it goes back to what we were saying even about KIRK. Like we set this man to a high pedestal. And like God he's leveling the playing. This man judged Pastor John Gray. He got thing, I would never do that. And you judging somebody else that actually cheated and was full blown, or he lacked confidence or whatever like that. But it was more so he got on and they exposed it to the world more so to save the platform.
Right.
Because truth be told, a lot of that stuff can be handled between.
Yes.
Here's the thing: if he would have never exposed it, who would have known outside of like his leadership and pastors and people?
Nobody.
If him and his wife had a conversation, say, "Hey, look, this is whatever. This is what we're gonna do." Boom, and she agreed and said, "Okay, we're gonna go through our healing process."
Right.
That's their relationship. That's what they want to do.
Right.
But because it was exposed, that's where we get the judgment and stuff like that. He could have very well came back without even exposing that to the world, came back and said, okay, I need to talk about somebody cheating. And so and so and so and so. Nobody would have known.
Right.
And you still would have been eating off of this, eating off of what he's saying. Oh, yeah, he's right.
Yep.
Yeah, and black man and this and all. It's because that information was shared.
Right.
And because you consider your platform and you want to save your platform.
Right.
Or you want to save your following. Or you want to be, this is completely transparent and I want to be as open as possible and I don't want to be considered labeled as a hypocrite or whatever. That's also an area of pride too.
Right.
Because you have to be so minded of what you're listening to and what you tagging and stuff like that. We talked about this and Bob said how many times do you see something on Instagram or Facebook and say, God's in the blessing business, he gonna bless you in 3 days. Hit amen.
Right.
And you hit amen just because you sit. Yeah. And you boom, 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 you hit that comment, amen, if you know so-and-so in 3 days it's going to manifest. And that's not the season that you're in. You're in the season of correction. Right. And God is developing some stuff in you. And this other person is the season of blessing.
Right.
We're in two different seasons.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so he might be in the season of development and God really trying to, look, no, your pride, we got to bring it down. We got to so-and-so.
Right.
And I think people just hold people to so much high regard. Right. And when it comes down to them exposing themselves, my voice alone will be in the trash. Why? Because you have shortcomings.
Right.
You have sin.
Right.
And it sounds like he was continuously in it. So, but what caused him to even be in his right? He was cussing on a lot of his videos.
Right.
So why didn't somebody pinpoint that?
Right.
Well, you say you're a Christian and you cursing, openly cussing this mother effer is song. He was going in. I looked at a few of his videos because I seen him, in passing, but I don't watch this video. Right. It was more so women that were watching the videos.
Right.
But then guess what? The fantasy comes.
Yep.
This goes back to our original topic where the man is not in the household or the healthy man is not in the household. So now I'm searching looking for a voice,
Right.
and now I'm getting all my voice and ducats from this one man,
Right.
And once soon as he fall, yeah, he just like all the rest of them. He just like my baby daddy the same way. We get labeled.
Yeah, man, and it's true, man. You gotta. My thought on that is that, like I said, some things supposed to be just taught to you in private.
Right.
And my biggest thing is this. My question is to him is, where was his accountability?
Right.
And sometimes when we build these platforms, we have something, and you think that you're so high that you don't need an accountability. You do need accountability, because right then and there, if something would have happened or something that I would have saw or I know what was going on, I'd be like, yo, bro, what is going on with you, man? What you doing, bro? You're not supposed to do that.
Right.
That's wrong.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it like in the beginning, it's like you saw a lot of people, a lot of single people messaging on what marriage is about. That stuff you don't know, because you don't hold a position of a wife. You don't hold a position of a husband. So you do not know. And the lack of communication, because a lot of times when it comes to sex and talking to sex about your wife, and you're like, hey man, but they give you that reaction like what do you want? And then you're like, in your mind, when you try to go back, you make an assumption in your head how the conversation was going to go in your mind. So you're only communicating with yourself. You're not communicating with your wife, because you don't know in times that your wife could change and you change, but you have to make sure you go back and say, hold on, babe, what's going on? What happened? Why is this going on? Why every time, I asked this question before, this is the reaction that I got.
Correct.
Why did you have that reaction? I want to talk about that. And so sometimes we don't, as men and husbands, we don't want to talk about it. It's because, like I say, it goes back to the thing. I just want to keep peace in the house.
Right.
But you frustrated. And your frustration is hovering over your household, and it is affecting everybody else. It trickles down. And so therefore you have to say, you know what, man up, and say, you know what, no, I'm going to have this conversation with my wife. I have to have this conversation because I have to push forward and have to move. I want our relationship to grow and flourish. But also I said, when I married you, I said, I do, not I try.
Right.
And that's the thing. I do. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. It's action. It's work. So we have to make sure we keep that in mind, man. But that whole Derrick Jackson thing is that, man, he is sent this. You hate the sin, right? Don't hate the person.
Right.
And with that being said, man, we like to thank the Golden Bros with Andrew and Jeremy coming through and dropping dimes out here on us today. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you like it, make sure you share this video, make sure you hit the notification bell so you'll be up to date on everything we do. But please share this, especially for all my fathers, man. What fatherhood, what manhood is, and how can we learn from two people within KIRK Franklin and Derrick Jackson. With that being said, man, we see you on the next show.